New head coach, same old Bears.
Same results?
Unfortunately so. We're going to talk about it. Join us after dark now. Welcome into CHGO Bears After Dark at the CHGO Sports Studios. I'm Greg Briggs Jr. Alongside me is, of course, legendary linebacker Lance Briggs. Going to talk about another pitiful loss. The Bears fall 38-13 here in Santa Clara as Kyle Shanahan really showed the Chicago
Why would you trade for him?
Yeah, really showed the Chicago Bears what good coaching is all about. Thomas Brown, first time as interim head coach, doesn't go so well.
Nope.
We're going to talk a lot about all the different things going wrong with this organization, and there are aplenty, Lance. So let's get right into it. Appreciate everybody joining. Hit the like button while you're hanging out. If you have any questions, we're going to certainly make this as interactive as a show as possible. So if you have different questions you want to get into here, we're going to answer those as the night rolls along. As we never stop here at CHGO Sports. But
no, we don't.
You know, I mean, the Bears stopped playing today.
Depressing Bears.
So, I mean, let's just start right out the gate. I mean, you're looking at this team talking all week about a sense of urgency, playing with violence. You know, football is rewarded with violent play. Yeah. And this was probably their softest effort of the season.
Yeah. I sat in a theater. I sat in the theater and watched the first half, up in Gurnee at the Marcus Theaters, and there was one San Francisco 49er fan in there, and he was trolling early, and we all kind of sat to each other and we said, hey, if we get up, we're going to get that guy hell, Everybody kind of gave each other a fist bump and everything like that. And then we looked up and touchdown, Niners, touchdown, Niners. So we never got that opportunity.
The one guy is giving you guys out.
Yeah. It was great. It was a great moment for him. It was a great moment for him. But, yeah, a lot of it just from the play to the interviews, the Bears look defeated.
100% look defeated. And, it starts to become a trickle-down effect, right? Because you're starting to get to the back end of the season, and now you're only playing for pride.
Yeah.
You're not playing for the playoffs anymore.
Yep.
And
I've been there.
And so, yeah, so when you're looking at these guys and the effort they put out, do you think that there is enough pride being shown, or do they need to show a little more?
You should always show pride when it comes to competition, if that's what drives you, I think there's a misconception, not just from the outside, but also from certain players too, that when you get paid this great amount of money, which I'm happy for all these guys to get, it's, you're able to fall back on that in these tough times. Okay. But when you line up and play this game of football and in front of another man, and that guy grabs you, takes you, throws you out of the way, throws you on the ground, keeps you from doing what you intend to do.
Right.
There's got to be a competitive fire that says he won't do that again. I dare you to try that again. Or I'm going to play like somebody's going to pay for what he just did. And I don't see enough of that. And it's not just the players too, I watched fundamentally our linebackers drop into space when you have Kittles that's running a spacing route, and he's got to be their top receiver, especially with Ayuk out, he's got to be the Purdy's go-to guy. So why aren't we pre-snap looking at him saying, okay, that's their number one guy.
Right.
He releases up the field. I need to be cheating toward him right now. take away their number one threat, force them to go somewhere elsewhere. So it's not just the players. I believe there's something fundamentally that's being taught that is missing as well. And it's reflective on the field.
So when you talk about, how they're being taught, Eric Washington kind of gets thrown into the fire here. Matt Eberflus gets fired last week. Now he's the play caller on defense. This is somebody that's been on, the Bears coaching staff in the past, and I'm sure you've crossed paths with him. Right?
Yeah.
So
he was there.
So for you, like, was there anything that you saw from what Eric Washington was trying to do versus what the Bears couldn't do from an execution standpoint?
Listen, as a defensive line coach, Coach E, that's what we call Coach E. He's always been. I thought he was always an outstanding coach. And he was coaching under Rod and a lot of these very good coaches. And the thing about when you get thrust into the defensive coordinator job, I watched my linebacker coach Bob Babbage get thrown in 2007 and 2008, and as great of a linebacker coach as he was, his first years as the defensive coordinator, we took a lot of steps backwards.
Right.
When we should have been taking steps forwards as a defense, and just having a different signal caller does make a difference. So, this could be one of those learning curves or learning pains for Coach E, along the way. There are things that you have to learn, as a defensive line coach, and you have your linebackers, you have your defensive backs. While I've seen a lot of defensive back coaches that come in that make changes that us linebackers and D linemen can't stand.
Right.
Because all it does is protect the DBs, and you get a D lineman coach who I prefer D lineman coach over DB coaches as the lead, because they understand that it's rush and cover, not cover and rush. So there's some stuff to it. I like E, but at the same time, if we're going to be accountable about stuff, the defense wasn't. It's not even that they weren't prepared. They didn't look like they were there. There were too many guys running wide open.
Yep.
We weren't getting a lot of pressure, and if you're not getting pressure with 4, you have to dial it up. They didn't do that.
No question about it. Once again, appreciate everybody tuning in. Please hit that like button. And, hey, like I said, if you guys got questions in here, obviously super chats will be put up first, but I'll have our producer here working hard, Sarah, take a look at what's going on in the chat. And if you highlight anything in there that is going to add to the conversation, we'll certainly bring it to the table here on CHGO Bears After Dark. Well, we talk about coaching and Thomas Brown obviously getting his first audition to be the interim head coach here for the final 5 games. And there was a lot of talk about him possibly becoming a candidate to be the head coach going forward, in 2025 and for years to come. And I'm certain he still wants to give that opportunity its best shot. Yeah. But, first game in, it's not a great look to talk everything that you said during the week about playing violent and unifying the team. And today, I don't know if they could have looked more apart, as a whole unit. And so, what was your take from Thomas Brown coming down from the box and being on the sideline for the first time?
He's not a miracle worker. The Bears have created a habit for themselves up to this point. They've created a habit. The defense has trended in the wrong direction for far too long.
Yep.
There's no expectation of this game for you to say, okay, they're somehow going to hold this team to under 20 points like they were doing in the beginning of the year. Offensively, what you were hoping is that because of the trend that had been trending over the last month, is that offensively, okay, we're at least going to put some points up offensively. We're gonna start fast. We're gonna have an opportunity because we're coming off of weeks where our offense actually led a game in the first quarter. So there's things that we were expecting that, well, at least I was expecting, that didn't happen, and we a lot of the blame. A lot of people want to point the finger at Caleb, and there is blame to be had from him. But you've got to be reliable when he throws the doggone ball. Catch the ball. I'm a big proponent on make it put it on somebody else other than yourself.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm going to catch this football. If he can't get it to me, it's on him. But if he gets it to me, it's on me. So help the guy out, you know what I mean? Because after those drops, it's followed by sacks. We catch those drops, we extend the drive, we don't get the sacks. So
yeah, no, I feel you there. It's frustrating because DJ Moore was, he talked to people in the locker room, reporters, and he was asked about what went wrong. And he's like, well, we're just not starting fast, and I don't have the answers. And the thing that frustrated me the most, and
in a loss, you talk about yourself.
Right.
In a win, you talk about the team. What can you do better in the loss? I need to catch the ball better. I need to be more consistent. I'm too good of a player to drop these footballs that Caleb is throwing to me.
Yeah, it's it's just become like a complete trickle down effect. I keep saying that because it's starting. I on our first post game show, we went after I went after the organization just being too dysfunctional and soft.
Yeah.
And we joked about how they didn't want swearing on Hard Knocks. I watched you guys at training camp many years at Bourbonnais. There was plenty of curse words being shared. A lot of healthy competition and a lot of good camaraderie and brotherhood. But you guys didn't always get along.
No, we didn't. We didn't censor ourselves either. That's eerily reminds me of the Trestman era, and Trestman doing something real similar to that, and coming to the House Hall and hearing, hey, we're no longer allowed to say the B word or the N word, and I'm like, what? Wait, hold on a minute, what? It's like, whoa, so our head coach woke up this morning, and he's like, you know what, babe? I'm getting rid of the B word today. You know what I mean? It's getting wiped out. We're not doing it anymore. And then you gawk in and you actually try to implement that amongst all these grown men.
Right.
It just can't happen. Listen, that practice that he tried to implement that, I heard more B words in practice than I've ever heard before.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like you just can't. It's not. If that's your preference, fine,
right.
Fine. But I hate it's a little worrisome for me to hear it happening with this group.
Well, it's focusing on the wrong things, right? Like I've said this. Like it just feels like the people at Hallis Hall are too focused on this being like the Notre Dame Cathedral.
Yeah.
This isn't church. This is football.
My son says, he's like, when my dad gets his foot stepped on, he lets out at least 3 to 4 cuss words. And I say, well, after about 3 to 4 cuss words, the pain goes away.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yep. No, it's a joke. I mean, honestly, and it's a silly thing, I guess, for some fans to hear, to try to point out. But at the same time, it does hold relevance because it's not about it's not about that gripe. It's about being focused on the wrong things. Focus on beating on the Green Bay Packers.
Correct.
Focus on getting back to the playoffs and winning a game.
Right.
Like those are the things that matter right now.
Right. Why are we dealing with this distraction when we should be focused on what we need to do to beat this team?
No question about it. No question about it.
We're not going to censor them to death.
Yeah, it's silliness, and it's just one of many examples of why this organization needs to kind of refocus their mindset, and it's just where it's at. Let me ask you this, because I see our guy Crumb somewhere in the chat. He's just been relentless today here in our first post game show, and now on our chat today. He is of the mindset that Eberflus was the scapegoat, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, and saying, oh, well, the media ran Flus out of town. Now what? And so I just want to know from your perspective, like, were the Bears right in firing Matt Eberflus, or should they have kept him on board and let this season play out, with however it was going to be? And like, obviously there's bigger issues than just the coach, but do you feel like that now it's exposing something today that Eberflus wasn't necessarily the problem?
Ooh, that's an interesting one there. So exposing, number one, if we're going to start, let's start with Eberflus. Eberflus, he exposed himself. He exposed himself to the point where you have every football evaluator, has talked about how much of an imbecile he was, and to make certain comments.
Yep.
To me, he had exposed himself from decisions he had made in the past, but I think he really kind of put himself on that chopping block when he answered questions and saying, I thought we made the right decision, or I'd do it again if we had that situation, and clearly you were wrong, and clearly you're in over your head. But the exposing of the organization, the issues we all know are it's much more deeply rooted than just, man, we picked the wrong coach, and we made a few wrong decisions. We do it over and over and over.
Yep.
So it's deeper rooted when you're in a situation where, doggone, we don't know how to pick here.
Yep. No, it's a fair point. And I've seen a lot of people in our chats this season, talking about Justin, and then there'll be other fans like, quit talking about Justin, like he's gone and, he wasn't a good quarterback. But it is the overall point that I can understand from people. I wanted the Bears to draft Caleb Williams, and I thought they needed to trade Justin Fields. But, we keep, as I've said before on other postgame shows, we just keep moving chairs on the Titanic. And, so we can fire Eberflus, and we can trade Justin Fields, and we can – cut Tyreek Stevenson if he's going to make another boneheaded play.
But the ship is going to sink.
The ship is sinking. It's sinking, And I don't know if we were going to have that wooden door to save us. And I don't know how many people are going to fit on that door. I think you probably got dibs on that door before I got dibs on that door.
I mean, listen, if it came down to a fighting between you and I'm definitely going to win it, and I'm going to be on that door. But
I'm pulling if I'm going down, I'm pulling everyone down. I'm pulling everyone down with me. We're going to take a quick time out. When we get back, like I said, we're going to answer more of your guys' questions that you're bringing into Super Chat. I already see some coming in. So hit that like button while you're hanging out, and we'll continue to talk about this abysmal loss at the hands of the 49ers, 38-13 here on CHGO Bears After Dark. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to our guys over at Sunnyside.
Toke it up.
Yeah, that's right. Our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary are here to elevate your winter, keep you warm. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from, with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Stop in the store nearest you throughout Illinois for expert guidance from their staff, or select from quality lines like Cresco or Florical. Available now is Good News. You can get that. Good News Island vibes for next level staycations, destination relaxation, and then, of course, Good News Island vibes, Puff Puff Paradise. Launching now until December 31st. Sunnyside Scratch and Stash is back again this holiday season. Receive a scratch-off card every time you shop, now through December 31st, or while supplies last. Every card is a winner. You could win big, like 50% off or $100 off your next purchase. Hurry in to see what you win. So visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter the promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 or older, or Illinois medical card holders. All right. We continue to roll things on.
Yeah.
I watching the game, obviously, I know you mentioned here before the show, you had some thoughts about Roma Dunze, and I'm curious to hear what you had to say.
All right. So, I know you're a rookie, you're young. But when it's 31-6, and you score a touchdown, I just don't feel like that's the time to celebrate. You're bringing attention to yourself, and the attention needs to be on the team. You're not playing well enough for us to be putting out the dance that you've been working on all week. That dance you were working on all week was supposed to be performed when you score a touchdown, and we're competitively in this game.
Yep.
We're not even competitively in the game.
Yep.
So that lets me know that your mind's not where it's supposed to be.
Right.
And I talk about this competitiveness all the time, man. It's like, if you're driven by competitiveness or a competitive nature, we're getting beat 31-6. I'm like, there isn't a play that I'm going to make here that's going to make me want to do any damn dance. Like, I'm pissed, right? I'm pissed because he's happening over and over and over. So no matter what it is that I do, I'm not doing enough to help us win. That's what's running through my head. So if you're scoring a touchdown, we're getting beat and we're not even competitively close. At what point do you realize, doggone it, like nothing that I'm doing is enough to help this team win? What do I need to do?
Yeah, and I'm glad you said it, because me as the meatball, the resident meatball here on CHGO Sports, if I say it, then it comes off, like, what is this guy? Who is this guy? Like, you never played, what do you know? But I know about pride. Yeah. I know about showing up to a job site, and when the job isn't getting done, I'm not celebrating the little victories at the end of the day.
No.
I'm not happy when I get in my car to drive home. When my boss, when I was a bricklayer for 20 years and I had to tear a wall down, I was pissed off all night about it. It wasn't something like, well, we're going to get the house done tomorrow. Like it's a pride thing. So it's not even about like, oh, well, you've never played or not. And so I'm glad you said it as a former player, because they'll be like, oh, well, say that to Rome's face. So you know what? Lance Briggs just said it here on this program. And
I have no problem saying it to his face.
And Jonathan Owens had an interception at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And you know what they did, Lance? Half the team, half the guys ran to the other end zone. Like when you get an interception, when you're in the middle of a competitive game.
Clowns. Honestly, like we're not even good enough for us to be doing any of this. We shouldn't even be practicing this stuff during the week. Like we're not good enough to be practicing, to spending any time other than what we're supposed to be doing. We're spending more time putting together these dances, and these dances are more detailed than the defense that we're playing right now.
Right.
So what are we doing? We're wasting time, and I would have a problem with any and all of that. So at one point, but then there's a lot, man, and it's got my blood boiling a little bit. You got my blood boiling, and when I think about all the captains and this and that, you can have as many captains as you want, but we're still lacking leadership.
100%. I think we're on the same page there. The celebrations at the end, even Jalen Johnson at one point, he got a pass breakup on Jennings, and he is just jawing at him, letting him know, like, and I know Jalen Johnson takes a lot of pride in his craft, and, he shut him down on that rep, and he wanted to remind him, like, hey, my team might suck right now, but I'm still him.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, like, look at the scoreboard, Jalen.
Yeah.
That guy, you might have got a pass breakup, but that guy's winning, and so it's frustrating to see that competitive mindset isn't there. You're worried about yourself and that one rep or that one touchdown or that one interception, but you're not worried about it. It's not enough for you to be disgusted by the scoreboard.
I can understand Jalen's more than any of the other stuff, because I'm also not going to be talked to just anyway either in a loss. And guys that are we're getting blown out and they're scoring and they're saying some slick stuff, and so listen, I may pop a guy or whatever it is, and listen, we might suck, but I knocked you on your ass. All right, now remember that.
I'm gonna leave here with something.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Well, yeah, my guy. Thank you, my guy. Thank you.
I'm gonna leave here with something. For real. But you got to earn the dance, right?
Come on.
You got to earn the dance. Yeah, I remember you and Brian Urlacher. You guys used to have this little high five routine. It was one time and then what? 2 time coming back?
Yes.
But you know what?
2 always follows 1.
Right. Mm-hmm. But you guys earned that.
Damn
right.
You
guys earned that because of what you guys knew you were going to put on the field every single week. And these guys, they're not there yet. And it's a problem, because I think they have a lot of really good players, a lot of guys that I think can be, that have the
moxie.
Yeah, the things that could fit the standard of being a leader, but they've never been on winning teams. TJ Edwards is the only one that comes from somewhere, where he came from a Super Bowl team with the Eagles.
Too. Well, I hear you. Super
But
Bowl,
still, like playoff success.
Yeah.
There's not that many players on this team that are like that. Like you said, like DJ Moore, comes from the Panthers, comes here, is a great player. It's the highest paid, extended contract in the history of the Chicago Bears organization. But when you come to that locker room, you got that captain's patch on your chest. You got to take personal responsibility. When somebody asks you why you haven't gotten off to a quick start in any of the games this year, you got to say, well, I got to catch the ball. That's got to be the first thing you say.
The very first thing.
You can say,
I got to do a better job help my quarterback.
Right. So there's a disconnect, I think, with some of these players.
There's a lot of individualism.
It's a trickle-down effect.
There's a lot of individualism right now in the way that everybody answers. When you say we're missing that accountability, there's a lot of individualism happening,
It's a trickle-down effect.
Yeah.
George McCaskey rarely steps up and says, this is on me. Ryan Poles was sitting next to Kevin Warren on Monday, and he looked as sad as I've ever looked instead of, really just emphasizing that this is on me. And then Matt Eberflus, he got shown the door because too many times he wouldn't say this is on me, make excuses. So now it's just bleeding all the way into the players.
Well, there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of fans. Not even just fans, but there's a lot of fans. There's a lot of players, a lot of people around the world that say, man, I can run this team better than them. I can run this team better than this guy. And when you get into this and you actually get an opportunity to get in and you're like, okay, you're the GM, you get to make these calls, you realize how hard this thing is. How hard it is to it's at the end of the day, it's a guesstimate.
Yep.
The best guesstimate you can at putting together a personnel that's going to not only produce, but they can work together. They've got star power. You got guys that can give you longevity, that can do because you're doing it for the long haul. You want a team that's going to go back to the Super Bowl, be back in the playoffs every year.
Yep.
You want a Kansas City Chiefs. You want a Packers team, the teams that go to the playoffs every year. That's what you're yearning for, right?
No question about it. No question about it. So we're looking forward to that day. Let's get into some questions here coming from the chat.
Christmas time.
Our guy Arctic here, $2 super chat saying, thank goodness we got rid of JF1. I don't know what the last we demean now, maybe dominant now. And he's probably being facetious, and I understand that tongue-in-cheek comment. Like, there was a lot of fans that were like, well, hey, if they just get a quarterback in here that can get the ball out quick and make the plays, they're going to be all right. And I certainly was one of them. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. It, to me, was a simple solution. You get a quarterback in here that can make plays with his arm, and you have a little more stability on offense with, because Justin Fields, with the way he is going to make plays and get first downs, it's not something you can really game plan in the week for. He's going to run for it. He's going to make plays on his own when the play breaks down. He has that amazing ability, but I've always said, hey, we need to try to run a consistent offense. And I think Caleb Williams will eventually get there. But I think a lot of us said, all right, plug this guy in here. And this team who won 7 games last year was going to win 9 or 10 this year. And now they'll be lucky if they win 6 games this year. Right. And if anybody's sitting here trying to act like that, they're not surprised by that, they're lying to you.
Yep.
I am definitely stunned that this is the outcome of this season. It is severely disappointing. I'm glad that heads have already rolled for it, and I don't know if enough heads have rolled because of it. And so that brings me to that, and I'll get back to some of the chat questions. But
sad.
That's the next question
it's
I have
sad,
for you.
Man.
It is sad. So that being said, Ryan Poles kind of seemed like he was off the guillotine. Everybody else got it, and then Kevin Warren said he's gonna be the point person in our search for a head coach. But do you think by the end of the year, if they're on an 11-game losing streak, can you say with certainty that Ryan Poles' job is safe?
I mean, we live in a day and time now where, like, people want to axe people. They want to axe their ass right now, right now, and that's all we've done. That's all we've done here in Chicago. That's all we've done, So it's hard for me to say that if we get rid of him, that the next guy or woman that comes in is going to be our savior. Maybe learning from our faults and still being here and correcting it. Maybe that's the way. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I know of a few guys that the Bears could certainly hire and they could help them bring in talent. I know an Olin Kreutz right now, that that if he were in that office making some decisions, he certainly can find some good linemen. Mm-hmm. Good linemen come around the country just to work out with him.
Right.
You know, I know some guys. I know a peanut Charles Tillman that can find some talent, that knows how to find talent, a guy that's going to work his ass off, you know, that's going to help bring in some real talent, you know, good, bad, or indifferent that I think can help the Bears. So, you know, it is what it is, though.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Let's get into a few more super chats. You know, here on the CHGO Bears After Dark program, where we appreciate everybody hanging out. Please hit that like button. Chubbs coming in hot with $5 super chat. Lance, you have to know as a linebacker, Edmonds has been horrific. He doesn't shoot gaps. He gets blocked by guards. He can't cover. $2 million more. We would have kept Roquan. Your thoughts?
He's not the only one. You know, I mean, even listen. TJ may fly around. He may make a lot of plays, but any of the linebackers are flying into their gaps the way they're supposed to. And when they're in a two gap situation, they're not falling back. So a two gap meaning if they're in the cover two, meaning they have one less in the box. So for the runners, for the offensive guys, when you have an 8-man box, okay, you have an extra, that safety comes into the box, okay. The play should always have to stay play side. So if it's a run to the right, it should stay to the right because that's the only place where we can possibly get a +1. All right, you move that safety back. You have two safeties deep. Now you have one less in the box. So now your running back has an opportunity to bounce it back to find a gap that's backside instead of saying play side. Okay, so when you come off, when that running back gets the ball, your linebackers are both going to move. It's both to the left. You're both moving to the left, okay? Your offensive linemen are doubling those tackles, all right? But they're working up to the second level, working up to your linebackers. When they work up, you have to fall back with intent because now once they come off that double team, your defensive tackles, now they're free to secure that gap. So now that they're free to secure that gap, your linebackers can fall back, but they have to fall back fast and with intent that a running back is going to be there, a ball carrier is going to be there. And they don't do that consistently, all right? I rarely see them do it, and it to me, it makes me think that it's part of their fundamentals. That's the way they're being coached. There's details that are being left out, okay? And that's the only way that I can shake it, but it's not just Edmonds, all right? Edwards is all over the place. He's making plays, but he's doing the same similar things that Edmonds does versus the run. And that is a big reason why we get gashed all the time.
Yeah, it's sad because the trajectory they were on to start the year was one of the best defenses in football.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's within them. I mean, are they really missing Andrew Billings that much? Because I've loved Andrew Billings since the day he walked out here on the Bears training camp field a couple years ago. They signed him to an extension, well-deserved, and he was more than just a run stuffer. He was creating havoc back there, but they lose him, and now all of a sudden it's like a sieve.
Yeah, no, because run blocking is the discipline of being in the gap. You know, there's only so many gaps. You know, there's 11 players on offense, 11 players on defense. There are only so many gaps that you can have on the field. Okay, it's a numbers game. Okay, when you put enough guys defensively in the box, you can't run the ball. All right, if your philosophy is any different than you can't run the ball, then you're at a loss. So when you put enough guys in the box, you can't run the ball, and if you do, somebody's screwing up. And if you don't have an extra guy in the box, you still should be able to play the doggone run. If you play it physically, you play it violently, you play it with ill intent.
That's well said. Jeff R in the chat, Sarah, if you want to pull that up, search his name. I thought this was a pretty cool comment from Jeff R saying that they named their son. Try to find it here. Yeah, here it is. Jeff R. I named my son Briggs after you, Lance. Favorite Bears linebacker.
Yeah, that's a cool. That's man. Listen, your son is destined for something really great. I can tell.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. I mean, You know, almost accidentally named Jeff. You almost accidentally named him Braggs.
That's true.
You're one letter off from naming after the dumbest meatball in Chicago sports media.
You're good, but you got a Briggs before you can Braggs. All right, remember that.
You got a Briggs before you can Braggs, baby, and that's what this team needs to learn.
Yes,
you got a Briggs before you can Braggs. Come on now. Come on now. Let's show off when we're up 38-13, not
down.
Gotta
crawl before you can walk.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into some more chats. I know Sarah was highlighting some things as we roll this thing along, and we're going to make this show as we get to the rest of the year and interact with you guys and give you guys an opportunity to ask one of the greatest linebackers in Chicago Bears history and NFL history as far as I'm concerned, answer some of your questions here. So what do you got for us, Sarah? Let's get Joe saying, my question is, at the end of the season, if the new coach wants his own quarterback, what is Caleb's trade value at the end of the season?
Listen, don't throw what we already have dysfunctional into more disarray. All right, we are dysfunctional enough, all right, to bring in a coach that says, I want my own guy. All right, if a coach comes in here, he needs to love him some Caleb Williams.
Yeah, or he's not getting that.
He's not getting it. Yeah, and it's gonna find out. Listen, he's gonna go before Caleb goes. So
that's the truth. And the other thing I will say is, I understand your point. Like, hey, everybody wants their own guy. GM wants their own head coach. Head coach wants their own quarterback. And I understand trying to get all the stars aligned. But at the same time, when they go into this coaching search, if somebody's coming in here and they don't think they can make Caleb Williams a good quarterback, then that says more about them as a coach than it does about Caleb as a player.
Correct. So, if you're worth your weight in gold, as a coach, then you should be able to adjust. That's part of your power. Your power as a coach is being able to play to the strength of your team. Your strength is going to be Caleb Williams. So make him the focal point of the future of the Bears. Because he already is.
No question about it. Wedding band here in the chat. Caleb will have stats that dwarf any Bears rookie and any year Justin Fields had. He was hurt every year and never played a full season. So Caleb Williams is not the issue, and he is a rookie. How bad is the offensive line in your eyes is the question from Wedding Band.
They're awful. They're awful.
7 sacks today.
It's just, the center got beat so fast, he didn't have a chance.
Yep.
Now, Caleb doesn't help himself in situations. There are situations where he doesn't help himself, but the play keeps running through my mind. He has 2 really good throws. One went through a guy's arms, and Keenan hit Keenan in the arm, in the hands, arms, wherever, the forearm, whatever you want to call it. The next one is to DJ Moore, and both are first downs. It's 2 plays in a row. The next play is a sack that, he held it. He held it too long, but shoot, how many more doggone throws that are catchable do I need to throw before I take this sack?
Right.
That's a head scratcher for me. And when you talk about DJ Moore being asked, what do you need to do? I need to help my quarterback out. I need to do a better job catching because I'm an elite receiver.
Right. So and going back to the offensive line, you've lined up over a left tackle many times in your day, right?
I sure have.
And so there was a play today where Braxton Jones gets driven back like 12 steps. And he literally is the guy driving him back, sacks Caleb Williams while he has Braxton Jones just backpedaling hard and he's clamped up. Braxton Jones, I think it was somebody they found value-wise, 5th round, diamond in the rough, because he was, in a sense, just because he was able to play. Availability sometimes is your best ability, but at the same time, one of his flaws is his anchor, and he can get driven back. So for you, when you were studying the film and you knew that a left tackle had trouble anchoring, what were some of the keys that you were going to go into that Sunday with to try to attack that weakness?
Well, let's start with the defensive end that's playing him. What they call speed to power. So you're gonna take off you're gonna drive out those first 3 steps, get that stiff arm, so that you drive his butt back, so you use his power against him, speed to power, boom, boom. And if that's one of the things that is one of his weaknesses, you're going to expose it. That's the beauty of the NFL is they're going to try to find all of your weaknesses and they're going to try to play it against you. So the good ones, the great ones in the NFL, they can nullify their weaknesses because they can recognize them and they say, okay, even with my weaknesses, I can create them. They can now become strengths. So with a guy like him, getting him one-on-one with Montez, getting him one-on-one with our best pass rusher. If at that time we have a Tommy Harris, making sure that Tommy is to that side, getting that one-on-one with the guard to that side, making sure that Wale Agunlie has that one-on-one to the outside,
right,
or Julius Peppers, we're going to continuously attack him. Whether we get the sack or not, we're going to get that ball out under 4 seconds because we're going to create pressure.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's what you're seeing. Teams are identifying that. I mean, 7 sacks is way too many. And, sometimes sacks can be on the quarterback, and certainly at the beginning of the year, I think.
Not 7.
Not all 7,
Not
for
all
sure.
7.
But, like, at the beginning of the year, I think there was a misconception for some of the sacks because everybody always just wants to blame the offensive line when the sacks happen. But sometimes they can be on the quarterback.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
I would say more than a handful today.
Yeah.
You have to go back and look to say with certainty, but I would say more than a few of those are going to be on the offensive line. So, they're fighting an uphill battle as you get to the end of the season and injuries are starting to mount. I mean, Darnell Wright was injured last week. It looked like maybe he wasn't going to play the rest of the year the way he went off. And then he was able to play the whole game. I thought he played all right, played pretty well, at least for my eyes, but hard to say that when you're losing 24-0.
Are you re-signing Tevin Jenkins?
I can't. And it's so frustrating because it reminds me of Mark Colombo. It's like I can already see it happening with Tevin because he has all the ability in the world, but you simply cannot re-sign him because of his injuries. You can't depend on him to play a full 17 games. So I don't know what kind of deal he'd even what would you even be willing to offer him? Because when he does play, you talk about, Thomas Brown talks about, violence being rewarded in football. He's a violent guy. He's somebody that is going to finish
if you could get Dollar Tree value on him.
Yeah, but and I don't know what he's looking for from a
5
contract.
below.
I mean, would you? I guess is the more operative question. Would you resign him?
Listen, I'm talking. If I can get Dollar Tree value, if I can get 5 below, Dollar Store General value, I mean. Yeah. If I can get him for that cheap, yeah. I mean, shoot.
But then the hard part is even if you are to get him for a value, now you've plugged him in as your left guard, and so unless you're going to,
he can also be depth though. If you get him at a value for the value that you want, and you go out in the free agency or
the draft.
You start with free agency because free agency is going to come before the draft.
Sure.
You go into free agency, you get a guy not named Nate Davis, okay? You get a very good guy, okay? And then you go into the draft, and we're going to have a top 10 pick. So let's make sure that we have the value to get the top left tackle, okay? Now we're starting to build some depth. Tevin Jenkins is still valuable as a depth in this offensive line. He's familiar. I'm not going to overpay for him. I'm not going to overpay for him, but if we can get him, he still adds value.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, when I bring up Mark Colombo, because in the back of my head, it's like I can already feel this coming with him where the Bears let Mark Colombo go because he was deemed a bust with the Bears because he was injured. Yeah. And then he went on to play for the Cowboys and had a great career. And it's just like just the Bears' luck. He was never healthy with the Bears, ended up being healthy with the Cowboys, was a great offensive lineman, and that's exactly who the Bears needed. And the Bears, with Ryan Poles, who's certainly under fire right now with fans, and rightfully so. I mean, he let go of James Daniels, an offensive lineman now on the Steelers, who's played very well since he's left here and played for the Steelers.
That's one we all knew James was good, though.
Right.
We all knew he was good. Whether he had a down game or not, we knew that he was a guy that should still be.
And Ryan Poles, for whatever reason, I mean, you talk about, I mean, he drafted Darnell Wright, but what, Karan Amagaji, you bring in a bunch of retread centers and guards that haven't worked out. You signed Nate Davis.
Is Karam Araganji?
Karan Amagaji.
Amagaji. Okay, Amagaji. I'm ashamed. I should know how to say his name. Anyway, is it that far-fetched that Ryan Poles got a Yale guy and he's a Boston College guy?
I think it was more about his traits. I think he likes his tackles to have some length, and Karan Amagaji has length. You know, he doesn't have them alligator arms, them T-Rex arms.
All right, okay, that's fine.
I think it was about attributes.
I'm not a O-line coach.
Yeah, I certainly am not either.
Right.
So I'm guessing here,
but I'm looking for guys that are finishing their opponents. I want to see who finishes their opponents more than anybody else. Yeah. That's who I want. You. You've got a nasty streak to you. I want what's the guy from Notre Dame that's at Indianapolis right now? Big guard. You know what I'm talking about too.
Who you got?
Quentin Nelson.
I'm sorry.
Come on.
With the Colts. I thought you meant current Notre Dame football right now.
No, Quentin Nelson. I'm watching him. I was like, man, I really hope the Bears draft this guy because he doesn't do nothing but finish people.
Right, and I think the Bears missed him by one pick.
They missed him by one pick. I know. They miss everybody by one pick, of course.
Aaron Donald.
Right.
Oh my gosh. So you're absolutely right. I mean, and their focal point is going to be about the offensive line this offseason, but too late for this season, no question about it. We got a few more comments here in the chat. Kurt Gullidge, our guy Kurt, asking, my question is, will Ben Johnson come here after the Bears showed how dysfunctional they are today? Ben Johnson, I don't know if he put it out through Albert Breer, but on the game on Thursday night, I believe, when the Lions and Packers played each other, he put out a few different things saying like, he's not gonna interview for any job unless he's gonna take it this time around from last year. And then the other thing he said is, I don't know if he said this again. Albert Breer put this
there
out
you go.
as the report, so I better be careful with the way I phrase this.
Mm-hmm.
But he also said, Albert Breer said that he wants whatever organization takes him to know and understand and learn from the mistakes they've made in the past. So
message.
Do you think that was a message straight to the Bears from Ben Johnson? If those were actually Ben Johnson's words through Albert Breer's report.
Man, listen, if I were Albert Breer, I would have said the same exact thing. All right. You know what I mean? I'm going to make a little asterisk, next to this statement, see if I can send a message to the Bears. I don't know if that's a true statement, but I like it. I like it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. You talk about, Thomas Brown, he's got 4 more games to go, but, all this talk about him potentially having an opportunity to coach this team beyond this season, hard to do that after you have a showing like you did today. That's not fair to him, but at the same time, that's kind of what he's up against.
The team looks, like I said, the team, there's a lot of individualism right now, and that happens when in losing seasons. I think that happens more often in losing seasons than it does in winning, because there's more unification when you're winning. But right now, the habit seems like it's been built up so long that not even Thomas Brown can unravel that in enough time to prove that he's the guy, to lead these Bears. So, I don't even want to say some of the stuff. I get scared to say stuff because of who we are, and when I say,
what do you mean by that?
What I mean is, if we start fresh with a new coach, it just everything scares me with this organization, man. Everything scares me. Keep the guys we have, and we work this out. Get a new guy, and go through the same thing again, and it's just. There's the dysfunction with the Bears for as long as it's been is it's one of those deals where it really sets us back, and we question ourselves. We we think this is right, but then we maybe it's not.
Right.
There's always the left hand, that's keeping his secrets from the right hand.
Yeah. No, it's fair. I mean, all last week arguing with fans about what the best course of action is. I don't know. I honestly don't. I was screaming Bill Belichick all last week just because I feel so adamant that this team, this organization needs a serious football person in Hallis Hall to not just clean up the play on the field, but just the operations in general across the board to start, as we talked about to start the show, focusing on the things that matter in Hallis Hall and stop trying to treat football like it's church.
Yeah.
And I know that Bill understands that and everything he's done over 2 decades. I'm not saying he's the only one that can't create a winning culture here in Chicago, but I get nervous as you start to go down the pecking order when you talk about a guy like Ben Johnson. I'm sure he's got a lot of plays. Yeah. I'm sure he's a really smart guy, and he could become a great head coach. But would he get swallowed whole by the dysfunction of this organization? It's a fair question to ask.
Is he going to bring in the non-analytical old school guy that fits the mode of a Dan Campbell to be on his staff?
Mm-hmm.
I got to see the balance there. I have to see something that tells me we're going to be all right with this guy.
I mean, right, because if you're looking at the way Dan Campbell built his staff, he's got the analytical guy as the play caller, but the rest of the people on that coaching
Aaron
staff,
Glenn,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right. Every guy down the line is a former player.
Antoine Randall L.
Yes. I mean, you talk about IU getting into the college football playoff. We're going to take on Notre Dame. Antoine Randall L. in college.
Woo!
He was the Mike.
He was something else.
He was the Mike Vick before the Mike Vick.
Ooh.
He was insane.
Yeah, but there was Slash before him. There was Slash before him.
That's fair. That's fair. That's definitely fair.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to keep this rolling along as we're starting around third base here on CHGO Bears After Dark. Trey Tunes, my guy in the chat, says, where do we go from here? Trey's a good buddy of mine, Lance. Where do we go from here, Trey? I'm going to go to Taco Bell here later tonight and drown myself in a lot of carbs because I'm depressed. I don't know where you're going from here, but where do we go from here, Lance?
Well, Trey, I like to call that place Toxic Hell, okay? But, to each their own, okay? To each their own. I don't know. I don't know, and I don't think that anyone has the answer. I think every answer that we've come up with is failed miserably.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely don't have the answers. I would really like for us to number one, not be so quick to say, get rid of him and get rid of this person and get rid of that person, because we don't know who the next person is.
Right.
What can we do with what we have? What do we have? What exactly do we have, and what can we make any changes? What can we learn from with what we have? I think we start inside first and then build outside, because if we do it the other way, I think we continue to run into cliffs. We're falling off a cliff every time.
Yeah, it's fair. Let's get to a few more chats here. I know Sarah's got some dialed up. Brandon Lawson, let's get to some of the super chats.
I saw a Mark Carmen one.
Yeah, Mark Carmen's in there. That's scary. Well, he's going to have to wait. We're going to get to super chats. Brandon Lawson, $5 super chat. Lance, who was your Olin on defense, and do you believe we need one person who keeps guys in line playing character-wise?
I don't care if you have every person that keeps it. I mean, we all kept each other in line, and that's what was really special about the understanding of the team, and when I say I see a lot of individuals right now. I see individuals in the way that you answer your questions. I see individuals in not taking ownership of the role that you've played in us not being productive or us not winning, and when you have a group of guys that are policing themselves and they're holding each other accountable, it's a different way of approaching these interviews. Somebody wants me to break down, why was Peanut so bad today? Did you see how many tackles I missed today? I don't think you saw it. There were opportunities for us to get off the field on third down. I was like, you're worried about him, but I'm worried about myself. There are ways to redirect some of these comments, and I don't see that, and so a change is coming, and we'll see how they react to it, because there are guys that have paid a lot of money and they're going to be here. And so with those guys that are going to be here, I actually like the way that Caleb answers questions. I didn't know I was going to be here and say that, but I like what he said. Like, it's not my job to wake grown men up to motivate them. A grown man doesn't need to be motivated. He shouldn't be.
Right.
That's what you do for a youth football team. Mm-hmm. Show them how to be motivated, because when you're 9 years old and the team that you're playing is twice your size, all right, you get nervous, you get scared.
Yeah.
So you got to motivate these kids, all right? You can do it, but at the professional level, you shouldn't have to do it.
Yeah, no question about it. Got a few more in here. Jeff R. was bringing back up about his son. He says, my son Briggs thought it was awesome that you mentioned my comment. Back when Briggs was playing, I sent items for him to sign Christmas gifts, and he signed everything. Super cool. Briggs is awesome. A very super cool dude.
Yeah, tell Briggs I said Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas with your terrible Bears team and a great first name. Chubbs82 says, nobody on this offensive line deserves a contract. Then he follows that up with another $2 super chat. We appreciate you, Chubbs. Always. You can get him at a value to be a backup. Talking about Tevin Jenkins here. So, our guy Kevin Kostalicki, a.k.a. Naked Guy from across the alley, $20 super chat. If you had a comment, Kevin, put it in the chat and we'll try to find it. Mm-hmm. But we appreciate your support. He sent $40 Venmo when me and Big Dave went to the Bears game to buy us around. Kevin's a good
cool.
dude. Yeah,
that's cool. What'd you get?
Beer.
Did you?
Yeah, we got some. Oh, we appreciate you, Kevin, always. Let's get to a few more chats here as we start to head home here. Let's bring in Mark. Mark, is tuning into the program.
Cool right here. This is nice.
Mark Carmen, what are your thoughts on his profile picture? Does that kind of look serial killer-ish?
It looks
like Dexter.
It's like 15 years old.
Yeah, it looks like he did some work to it. You know what I mean? He did some work to it. It's very glossy.
It's his old LinkedIn photo.
Yeah.
It's from like 15 years ago.
Right, because there's no gray hair, so it's certainly not updated.
It's very polished.
Right.
It's very polished. I like that.
I think he's aged like a fine wine. In this picture, he looks like he has 7 people locked in his basement.
It's just camera raw filters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's true. He asks, does Lance remember when we were in Arizona and Lance was hitting 70-foot putts and the Bears were going to beat the Cardinals? Do you remember the good old days?
Do I remember? Yes. That was lovely. No lies told there. 70-foot putt. All right. Greatest putt I've ever had. And you guys were present. And it was a lot of fun.
It was a hell of a shot. You could hear everyone on all 18 holes could hear the eruption after that made shot. Oh, yeah. We appreciate Kevin Kostalicki saying GB for 2024 CHGO MVP. I don't know about that. I picked the Bears to win 10 games, and I'm going to be off by about 5. So I don't think I deserve any MVPs.
What made you think they were going to win that many games?
Well,
there's no way you thought they were going to win that many games, Brad.
I did. They should have 8 right now, Lance. They how many games have they lost in the last play? I'm like completely baffled by what happened to this team. They have 4 wins, and 4 of them they lost on the last play of the game.
No, they earned every one of their losses. They weren't every one of those losses that you thought they should have won, that we thought they should have won, on the Hail Mary pass, on the bad decisions, because the Bears are going to bear, and they're going to find a way. They're going to find a way to lose a doggone game.
Bears are going to
That is our culture right now.
Bears are going to bear. There's no question about it. Not only did they lose 4 games on the last play of the game, but then they also lost to the Colts and Patriots at home, which I also wasn't having in my calculation. So literally right now they should have 10 wins if they just had some competency and some backbone, but they don't have either. And so now we're sitting here at 4 wins, and they're ruining my life.
It's all right. That's why you got Taco Bell.
Not all right.
That's why you got Taco Bell.
Yes, that is why I have taco, or what'd you call it?
Toxic hell.
Toxic
hell.
hell.
Yeah.
Let's get to a few more here. Clark Ware. Lance Briggs is a badass.
Ooh.
I truly believe Mr. Briggs can go in Hallis Hall and clean this mess up. My favorite all-time Bears player, Hall of Fame.
Clark, listen, man, I appreciate you. My ego really appreciates you right now. All right. So Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, my good friend.
Yes. We will
hope all your wishes come true.
That's right. We will continue to be with you guys here for the holiday season. Bears will be playing the Vikings on Monday Night Football next week. We have shows all week long. You know, Professor Briggs coming tomorrow with some tough grades. I have to imagine.
Let me ask you this: do you think that the professor is going to have any? Is there going to be any A's?
I don't know. Tory Taylor, he had a nice day. I knew that'd trigger you, so I figured I'd bring up Tory Taylor's fantastic day punting the football. Holy crap! No, we've
really fallen.
How far
when we talk about how good our punter is.
Oh my goodness gracious! Not good. Not good. So let's get into a few more of these. I don't know how many more you got here, Sarah. Jim R saying a team full of backups. Yeah, I guess so. As of right now, that's I don't know. They're better than this, Jim. They're better than this.
Hey, what Kirk Gullidge says right here.
Question from Kirk Gullidge. Do you think this is what the Lions went through for 50 years?
Yes.
When they sucked?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, my God.
But I'll tell you what, the good thing about that is maybe the Lions did go through that for 50 years, but guess where they're at right now?
They made it out.
So there's hope.
It's like Andy Dufresne.
Yeah.
When he crawled through the pipe full of shit to make it out the other side.
Yeah.
That's where we're at right now. We're in the pipe full of shit.
I saw he was an old fella, right? And he told me how long he's been a lifelong Bears fan and season ticket holder and all that good stuff. And and 85 and 06 was really good for him. And it made me think that one day it may not happen anytime soon. And another guy had a little baby, and the baby, he said he's never seen a Bears winning season yet. It makes me feel like that kid, when he's our age and we're that older man's age, it might happen.
It might.
I pray it happens for you.
All I can think about is I was golfing earlier this summer, and we were talking. This older couple was behind me, and they're like asking me what I do, and I was telling them what I did, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm at training camp. We're covering the Bears right now." She said, "How they looking?" We're season ticket holders. I was like, "They look good. This quarterback's good, man. He can make some throws." And she goes, "Well, we say that every year." And I was like, I couldn't even fight her. I was like, she's not wrong. And I promise you, that lady right now is like, dumbass.
That's what she's saying.
That's what that dumbass said. Oh boy. Well, and that's the thing. I went in this year doing two things. I said I wasn't going to get overhyped about the season until they earned it, which that I failed at miserably before the season even started. I blame Hard Knocks. And then the other thing I said, because you said we got to stop trying to give everyone the X and run people out of town. I had made a pact to start the year because last year on our postgame shows, I fired Matt Eberflus 6 times.
Yeah.
6 different postgame shows I fired him, and it started in week 2. I just lose my mind every week because I'm emotional.
Right.
And so this year I was like, all right, they kept him. I don't agree with it, but I'm going to keep calm, and I'm not going to fire Matt Eberflus one time this year. This is a 2-year project. And then the Washington game happened, and I started firing people. So I don't, I try to stand by the things that I try to talk myself into, but the problem is, Lance, is I have no self-control.
There it is.
That's my problem.
There it is.
That's my problem.
There it is. And which isn't a bad thing or a good thing in this show. On this show,
it works on this show.
Yeah,
it works on the show.
Yeah, outside the show, it could be a problem.
It hurts at Taco Bell. It hurts. It's good on this show.
I'm big on. I like to really think it out. I get angry. I get extremely angry, and I say I got to sleep on it. I got to sleep on this and see how I feel in the morning because it's going to be word vomit. If it comes out tonight, it's going to be word vomit, and you're going to get it. It's going to spew, and hopefully it doesn't spew onto you.
Yeah.
Okay? And when I wake up, if I feel the same way, then it's confirmed.
All right, last question from Kirk Gullidge to keep with our Shawshank Redemption theme to end the show. Last question. Briggs, are we still falling down the ship pipe, or are we crawling our way out and about to finally get where the rain washes us off and we've finally met the end of the line and freedom?
Kurt, I'm going to tell you this right now. This is one of the greatest phrases that were ever told to me when I was a young kid and I was knuckleheading, and football was going to be taken away from me. All right, by a coach I had named Walt Saborio. Okay, he said, Lance, he said, listen, because I had just screwed up. I just made a knucklehead decision, and he goes, listen, he said, this is what's going to happen. All right, he's like, what you did. All right, you have to understand, it's going to get worse before it gets better. All right. Like, this is the initial. We all just found out it's going to get worse before it gets better, but it will get better. And so it will get better, but it's going to get worse. It's about to get worse.
Oh, God.
Be patient.
All right. We're ready. I think we're ready. And I think that does it here for CHGO Bears After Dark. Make sure you're hitting the like button for Lance Briggs.
And
Braggs, I guess, here working hard all the way till 10 o'clock at night here at the CHGO Sports Studios, where we're always keeping you covered with our Chicago Bears coverage. Tomorrow, of course, the guys will be back, Lance included. Professor Briggs will be in the house, dishing out his grades once clearer minds have prevailed.
Yes.
Maybe somebody will find their way into a C or maybe even a B-. I doubt it. But we will see what Professor Briggs has to say with the guys and Mark Carman tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central, of course. And then we have shows throughout the week, so make sure you stay tuned for all of that. We appreciate every single one of you tuned in. So once again, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you to Sarah.
Thank you,
Sarah, jumping in here. We appreciate you. Did you have fun?
I had so much fun. You guys are great.
Yeah, well, we need the Bears to be great.
Yeah, same time next week.
Same time.
Same story next week, too.
Same story. Same old song and dance, my friend. Well, that wraps things up. For Lance Briggs, I'm Greg Braggs Jr. For Sarah, for all of us, Bears fans, keep your heads up and always bear down.
We all silly like the mayor.